The Underworld film series is a long-running supernatural action horror franchise that began in 2003 and centers on a fictional secret history of a hidden war between vampires and lycans, werewolves. The films are known for their dark gothic tone, stylish action sequences, mythic world building, and the central performance of Kate Beckinsale as Selene, a vampire death dealer who becomes deeply involved in the ancient war between immortals. The franchise combined horror elements with action choreography, exploring lore about immortals, hybrids, political intrigue among vampire covens, and the conflicts that make the series distinct from other vampire/werewolf narratives in cinema. The first movie, Underworld, 2003, was directed by Len Wiseman and introduced audiences to Selene, vampires, and lycans locked in a centuries-old battle. It established a secret world within modern society where these immortal creatures wage war in the shadows. The film featured Kate Beckinsale as Selene, Scott Speedman as Michael Corvin, a human whose rare blood makes him a target, and Michael Sheen as Lucian, the powerful lycan leader. Its unique gothic style and action sequences made it a surprise hit, and the success led to a multi-film franchise. Following the original, Underworld, Evolution, 2006, expanded the story, deepening the mythology and continuing Selene's personal conflict as she pursued answers about her own past and the origins of the war. Underworld, Rise of the Lycans, 2009, served as a prequel, exploring the earlier history of the Lycan uprising and the machinations that set the stage for the franchise's central conflict. Underworld, Awakening, 2012, transitioned the narrative into a future where humans have discovered and exposed the existence of both vampires and lycans, leading to new hybrid threats, and Underworld, Blood Wars, 2016, was the fifth installment, bringing Selene's enduring struggle to a climactic point in the existing canon. Underworld, Blood Wars is officially recognized as the fifth film in the series. It was released in 2016, directed by Anna Forster, with screenplay by Corey Goodman based on a story by Kyle Ward and Corey Goodman. The movie was produced by Screen Gems and Lakeshore Entertainment and distributed by Sony Pictures, releasing in the United States and Falcon in the Czech Republic. It had a production budget of around $35 million and grossed over $81 million worldwide, continuing the franchise financially and illustrating its global fan base. In the film, Selene remains hunted by both vampires and lycans while navigating political betrayal and warfare among immortal factions. After Blood Wars, many fans expected or hoped for a sixth film. There have been talks and public comments by people involved in the franchise about a future project, but there has been no official confirmation from the studio or distributors that a sixth Underworld film has actually been produced or scheduled for release. Multiple industry sources and interviews have emphasized that as of now no official Underworld 6 exists with firm details. Part of the confusion arises because the franchise's creator and director Len Wiseman has occasionally spoken in interviews about the Underworld universe having a future potential project, including a possible television series, but he has not specified that an Underworld 6 film is officially in production with confirmed production dates or casting. In a 2023 interview, he said that a project is in the works, hinting that the franchise still has life and could expand in some form, but he did not provide specific details about an official movie sequel called Underworld 6. Meanwhile, one of the franchise's leading actors, Kate Beckinsale, who played Selene over 5 movies, has given mixed comments over the years. In 2018, she stated that she would not return to the franchise, saying she was ready to move on from the series. Later, she softened her stance slightly, saying she was not entirely opposed to returning under the right circumstances, depending on the story and script. But her comments also made it clear that she personally does not feel strongly that another film is imminent, and she has expressed skepticism about sequels being made in general. Because of these mixed public statements and lack of official studio news, fan communities online have filled the gap with speculation, rumors, and even fan-made content, such as mock trailers and rumored plot synopses. For example, in 2025 a widely viewed fan-created trailer titled Underworld 6, Rise of the Dark Blood circulated on the internet that featured Kate Beckinsale's likeness, stirring excitement among fans. However, this trailer was not an official production, and it was identified as AI-generated and fan-made, with no direct connection to the official studio rights holders or any production company. The trailer's popularity contributed to misunderstanding, making some viewers believe that a new movie was imminent when, in reality, it was an imaginative creation rather than a verified marketing piece for an upcoming release. The online rumor mill has even produced conflicting claims about a supposed release schedule. Some sites have circulated unverified assertions about Underworld 6 having an October or November release target, but these claims are not based on official announcements by Sony Pictures or Screen Gems, and there is no authoritative industry source listing a confirmed release date for the film. One reason for the uncertainty is that the franchise's commercial performance has been uneven. While the films have generally made back their budgets, some entries, especially the later ones, did not achieve blockbuster levels of box office success, and Blood Wars in particular earned less than the earlier films relative to expectations. This performance likely influenced studio decisions about investing in another large-scale theatrical sequel, especially one that would require significant budget for special effects and action choreography. Industry commentators have noted that this kind of financial calculation plays a big role in whether a franchise gets a continuation. Fan discussions online often reflect this context, remarking that the franchise may be dead or that a reboot or spin-off might be more likely than a straight sequel. At the same time, there have been long-standing plans within the franchise for a television adaptation. Reports dating back several years confirm that a TV series set in the Underworld universe has been discussed and is in some form of development. Director Len Wiseman confirmed that such a project has been in the works for a while and could expand the franchise's lore with a darker, more grounded tone that differentiates it from the movies. However, as with the potential sixth film, there have not been announcements of specific release dates, casting information, or production timelines for the TV project. Understanding the Underworld franchise also requires context about the mythology and characters that have been developed over time. The central figure, Selene, is a vampire death dealer, elite warriors who serve the Vampire Coven's enforcement arm. Her personal journey frames much of the franchise, as she goes from being a loyal enforcer to someone who questions the nature of her people's war against the Lycans, forms personal connections, and navigates betrayal and political intrigue. Each successive film builds on her evolving motivations, alliances, and the larger supernatural conflict. The war between vampires and Lycans is rooted in complex lore. Lycans, or werewolves, are depicted as a distinct species of shapeshifters, not merely humans cursed by moonlight. They possess their own society and hierarchy, and early films like Rise of the Lycans explore their origin story and uprising. Characters like Lucian, the first Lycan capable of controlling his transformation, and Victor, an elder vampire, exemplify the deep historical animosities and alliances that define the series. The franchise also introduced hybrid characters, individuals with combined vampire and Lycan traits, which became a key plot point in later movies. The character of Michael Corvin is the first human to become a hybrid due to his bloodline, and his arc intersects with Selene's in ways that complicate the simplicity of vampire versus Lycan warfare. Such hybrids become metaphors for blurred boundaries and the possibility of transcending old hostilities, even as they provide narrative fuel for new conflicts. Despite the rich world building, Underworld has often received mixed critical reviews. Critics sometimes praised its visual style and action choreography but were less impressed by its narrative cohesion or character development. Nevertheless, the films cultivated a dedicated audience that appreciates their unique tone, blending dark fantasy with kinetic combat sequences and stylized cinematography. The franchise's appeal has endured partly because it occupies its own niche within the vampire/werewolf genre, away from more mainstream interpretations. In addition to the main films, the franchise has been packaged in various home media formats, including a 4K Ultra HD collection that brought all 5 movies together for collectors and new viewers. This kind of release indicates that the existing body of work continues to hold commercial and cultural value, even if new entries are not yet in the pipeline. All of this background is essential to interpreting the state of Underworld 6. The franchise is not dead, strictly speaking, because there is ongoing interest from creators, fans, and entertainment companies to explore the universe further, whether through films, television, or new creative directions. But for all the talk, there is no verified, studio-backed project with an official Underworld 6 title, confirmed cast, official plot synopsis, or release schedule available at this time. Rumors will continue, and fan creativity will flourish, but until a major studio issues a formal production announcement with details, Underworld 6 remains an aspirational project and not a guaranteed reality. In summary, the Underworld franchise is a long, evolving saga that began with a strong gothic action foundation and expanded across multiple films with consistent thematic DNA. While talk of a sixth installment has existed for years, official confirmation is still missing, and public statements from creators and actors show both interest and uncertainty. Fan content, speculative trailers, and online rumors have contributed to a perception that something is imminent, but authoritative sources have not validated such claims. The future may yet hold more of this universe, possibly through a different medium like television, but for now, Underworld 6 remains a possibility rather than an announced, finalized production. The Underworld film series first began in 2003 as a dark, action horror franchise centered on the secret war between vampires and lycans, werewolves, blending gothic visuals with stylized action and supernatural lore. The first Underworld movie introduced audiences to Selene, a vampire death dealer played by Kate Beckinsale, whose mission was to destroy lycans and uncover conspiracies within her own world. The franchise became known for its gritty tone and lore-rich mythology about immortals caught in centuries-old conflicts, and over the years it generated a dedicated cult fanbase even though critical reception was mixed. The franchise produced 5 main films: Underworld, 2003, Underworld, Evolution, 2006, Underworld, Rise of the Lycans, 2009, Underworld, Awakening, 2012, and Underworld, Blood Wars, 2016. Each installment explored different angles of the vampire-lycan civil war, introduced new characters, and expanded the mythos of the Corvinus bloodline, which is the root of both species' origins. The overarching narrative followed Selene's evolution from hunter to leader, and after 5 films, Blood Wars concluded with an uneasy truce between the factions, leaving the door open for future stories but providing a sense of closure. Fan expectations for Underworld 6 grew over the years after Blood Wars was released, with many hoping to see further adventures or new chapters in the vampire-lycan world. However, outside of fan discussions and speculative headlines online, there has been no confirmed sequel officially greenlit by the rights-holding studio. As of late 2025, numerous fan sites, YouTube channels, and entertainment blogs have circulated various rumors or fictional titles like Underworld 6, Rise of the Vampire, Underworld 6, Rise of the Dark Blood, Underworld 6, Blood Wars Requiem, or Underworld 6, Blood Rain, but these are not official movie titles confirmed by the producers and often stem from speculative content or fan-made trailers rather than factual announcements. In fact, one of the most widely circulated Underworld 6 trailers online, labeled Underworld 6, Rise of the Dark Blood featuring Kate Beckinsale, has been confirmed to be fake, AI-generated, and fan-made, created by an independent YouTube channel and not affiliated with the actual franchise studio. This trailer gained significant attention online and sparked debate among fans about its authenticity, but it does not represent an officially released or sanctioned preview of a real upcoming movie. The confusion surrounding Underworld 6 is largely due to the combination of intense fan interest, the franchise's open-ended ending in Blood Wars, and the fact that creative figures associated with the original series have occasionally hinted at future possibilities. For example, director Len Wiseman, one of the creative forces behind the original films, has been quoted in interviews acknowledging that there is space for more Underworld stories, though he has not provided concrete information about a 6th film specifically. Furthermore, Beckinsale herself has publicly expressed mixed feelings about returning for another sequel. In past interviews she indicated she did not plan to come back for Underworld 6, referring to having done plenty of those movies, though fans sometimes interpret such comments differently over time. Because the franchise has been dormant in terms of film releases since 2016, fan communities and entertainment sites have filled the knowledge gap with imaginative storylines and speculative plots. Common speculative frameworks for a potential 6th movie involve Selene facing a new threat that could jeopardize both vampires and lycans, the emergence of ancient vampire lords previously thought extinct, powerful hybrid creatures, or unresolved political tensions within the supernatural world. Many fan-theorized plotlines also delve deeper into the mythos of the Corvinus bloodline, unexplored family connections, or the fate of Selene's daughter Eve, a character introduced in the fourth and fifth films and seen by many fans as a potential future protagonist if the series were to continue. Another piece of the Underworld future puzzle is the development of an Underworld TV series, which has been reported in the entertainment press as being in progress with Len Wiseman's involvement. This project, distinct from a sixth theatrical film, suggests that the franchise may be shifting focus from traditional cinema to serialized storytelling, potentially exploring the vampire, Lycan saga in greater depth with new characters or expanded arcs. However, like many in-development projects in Hollywood, this series has had minimal public details released and no confirmed release date, cast, or platform as of now. Because there is no verified official release date, cast list, plot synopsis, or confirmed title for Underworld 6 from the studio, it's important to approach any so-called details you see online with caution. Websites or posts claiming specific release dates like October 2025, or claiming that Beckinsale is starring again are usually speculative or based on rumors rather than on announcements from Sony Pictures, Screen Gems, or Lakeshore Entertainment. Additionally, some speculative articles describe elaborate plot arcs, emotional stakes, and franchise tie-ins, but these should not be taken as factual until confirmed by official sources. So what is officially known? As of late 2025, the Underworld franchise consists of 5 films, with the last released in 2016. There is no officially announced 6th movie with verified production, cast, plot, or release schedule. Some creative personnel have hinted at future Underworld projects in general terms, but no concrete details have been provided. Kate Beckinsale's return to the franchise is not confirmed, and in past interviews she has expressed reluctance to reprise her role, though fan speculation continues. Many Underworld 6 trailers circulating online are fan-made and not official. There is a potential Underworld TV series in development, which is separate from a 6th theatrical movie. Despite the lack of official confirmation, the franchise's passionate fanbase remains interested in more stories from this universe, whether through films, TV series, reboots, or spin-offs. If a real Underworld 6 were to be officially announced in the future, it would likely involve a press release from the rights-holding studio and be covered by major entertainment news outlets. Until then, most detailed plot summaries, cast lists, trailers, and release permutations you see online are either speculative fiction, fan interpretations, or AI-generated content rather than verified film production information. Building on the foundation of previous films, Underworld 6 could explore the deeper history of vampire and Lycan civilizations, tracing the roots of their conflicts to ancient times and forgotten epochs. The series has previously hinted at vast, secretive histories that predate recorded human events, with elders and pure-blood vampires holding knowledge of treaties, betrayals, and battles that shaped the species' present. Expanding on this, a 6th installment could unveil hidden archives, cryptic prophecies, and long-lost relics, offering both Selene and the audience new insights into the consequences of immortal actions. Such historical depth would provide narrative richness, linking contemporary conflicts to timeless struggles and emphasizing the cyclical nature of war and power. By exploring these ancient legacies, the story could reveal that the present-day skirmishes are part of a larger, far-reaching struggle, giving the narrative weight and resonance. One of the most compelling speculative plot elements for Underworld 6 is the tension between generational leadership and the evolution of power. Selene, representing the experienced and battle-hardened generation, embodies both wisdom and the burdens of centuries-long conflict. Her daughter, Eve, represents a new era, potentially possessing powers or insight that surpass even those of established leaders. A narrative centered on generational dynamics could explore the challenges inherent in balancing tradition with innovation, authority with rebellion, and legacy with personal ambition. Eve's potential role as a mediator or catalyst for transformation within vampire and Lycan society could form a central pillar of the story, reflecting broader themes of succession, mentorship, and the inevitability of change. The introduction of complex antagonists could further elevate the narrative stakes. Previous films often depicted straightforward villainy, either the oppressive vampire elders or vengeful Lycans, but Underworld 6 could explore morally gray adversaries with nuanced motivations. These antagonists might challenge not only Selene and Eve physically but also ethically, forcing characters to make difficult choices that test their loyalties and moral convictions. By complicating the notion of enemy, the story could foster tension, ambiguity, and emotional investment, encouraging audiences to engage with the narrative on a deeper level. Such depth in character development aligns with the franchise's broader exploration of identity, morality, and the cost of immortality. Strategically, the potential narrative could depict intricate power struggles within both vampire and Lycan societies. Vampire clans may face internal challenges to leadership, driven by ambition, ideological differences, or envy, while Lycan packs might contend with emerging factions seeking autonomy or dominance. These intertwined political and social conflicts provide fertile ground for intrigue, betrayal, and shifting alliances. Selene, as a central figure, would likely navigate these treacherous waters, balancing diplomacy, combat, and personal moral judgment. The complexity of these interactions allows the story to maintain tension and suspense, offering multiple layers of engagement for viewers who appreciate both action and political drama. The thematic exploration of identity, transformation, and duality could also take center stage. Hybrids, bridging vampire and Lycan lineages, have always been emblematic of these themes, and Underworld 6 could deepen this exploration by presenting characters wrestling with conflicting instincts, loyalties, and desires. Eve, as a hybrid of considerable potential, could face challenges from both species, being neither fully accepted by vampires nor Lycans. Such conflict provides opportunities to examine broader questions about belonging, self-determination, and the reconciliation of opposing forces within an individual. These themes resonate universally, elevating the story from mere supernatural action to a reflection on human experiences and societal dynamics. Action choreography in a sixth installment would likely continue the franchise's tradition of visually striking, high-octane sequences. With modern advancements in filming technology, Underworld 6 could incorporate enhanced motion capture, realistic digital transformations, and large-scale battles that were previously impossible. These sequences could be both character-driven and spectacular, emphasizing individual skill, strategic use of powers, and creative environmental interactions. Combat sequences might feature verticality, dynamic movement through complex terrains, and innovative integration of hybrid abilities, further differentiating them from previous installments and setting a new standard for visual spectacle within the franchise. Potential plot points could include quests for ancient artifacts, discovery of hidden powers, or confrontations with previously unknown supernatural entities. These narrative elements serve not only as drivers of action but also as tools for character development, testing resolve, strategy, and morality. The pursuit of such artifacts or knowledge could uncover long-buried secrets about the origins of vampires and Lycans, the hidden history of their wars, and the consequences of prior generations' choices. Such revelations could reshape the current balance of power, forcing characters to confront ethical dilemmas and make decisions with far-reaching consequences, emphasizing that immortality is accompanied by enduring responsibility. Another area of exploration could involve the societal implications of peace or war between species. If Underworld 6 were to examine the possibility of coexistence, it might depict negotiations, fragile alliances, and the challenges of bridging centuries-long enmity. Conversely, renewed conflict could explore themes of revenge, justice, and the cyclical nature of violence, illustrating how past grievances and hidden agendas perpetuate strife. By engaging with these socio-political dynamics, the narrative could offer more than mere spectacle, providing insight into leadership, diplomacy, and the costs of long-standing conflict. Such a storyline would offer opportunities for tension, suspense, and moral reflection, enriching the franchise's thematic complexity. The personal stakes for Selene, Eve, and other central characters could intertwine with these broader societal themes. Relationships forged, tested, or broken across species boundaries could provide an emotional core to the narrative, balancing the action with human drama. Themes of trust, betrayal, loyalty, and sacrifice would likely remain central, ensuring that the story maintains continuity with previous installments while exploring new dimensions. By grounding the supernatural spectacle in character-driven storytelling, Underworld 6 could sustain audience engagement on multiple levels, offering both adrenaline-fueled excitement and emotional resonance. In addition, Underworld 6 could integrate contemporary narrative sensibilities, such as exploring the psychological effects of immortality, the consequences of endless conflict, and the interplay between personal ambition and collective responsibility. Characters could face existential questions, examining the meaning of life, death, and purpose within the context of their prolonged existence. Such philosophical undercurrents would complement the series' action-oriented elements, elevating the narrative and providing audiences with both entertainment and thematic depth. By blending high-stakes action with introspective exploration, the story could achieve a balance that respects the franchise's roots while innovating for modern audiences. Finally, the anticipated impact of Underworld 6, should it be produced, would extend beyond narrative considerations. It would represent a continuation of a franchise with enduring cultural relevance, a story world that has captivated audiences with its unique aesthetic, complex mythology, and compelling characters. By thoughtfully expanding lore, deepening character arcs, and integrating visually innovative action, the film could reaffirm the franchise's position as a leading supernatural action series. While official confirmation remains absent, the potential narrative, thematic richness, and visual possibilities suggest that Underworld 6 could be a landmark installment, offering both continuity and renewal, spectacle and substance, action and introspection. In fan-imagined Underworld 6 narratives, one of the most compelling elements is the scale and intensity of battle sequences. Unlike earlier films, which often focused on one-on-one duels or small skirmishes, these conceptual storylines envision large-scale confrontations between vampires, lycans, and hybrids across sprawling and diverse terrains. Urban landscapes, with Gothic spires and shadowy alleyways, serve as primary arenas where stealth, strategy, and supernatural speed are crucial. Fans imagine Selene coordinating tactical strikes, using both her combat prowess and knowledge of vampire and lycan weaknesses, while also navigating traps and ambushes laid by rival factions. These battles are not merely physical confrontations but also psychological duels, with Selene anticipating moves, exploiting rivalries, and negotiating shifting alliances. One particularly striking imagined scenario involves a siege on an ancient vampire fortress long thought abandoned. In this sequence, the fortress is depicted as a labyrinthine structure of stone towers, underground crypts, and secret passageways filled with traps and ancient protective wards. Selene leads a small contingent of loyal allies, including both vampires and reconciled lycans, against a faction of pure-blood ancients seeking to reclaim lost power. The conflict is envisioned as both tactical and cinematic. Flying combatants engage in acrobatics across balconies and battlements, hybrids demonstrate unpredictable abilities that shift the tide of battle, and the battlefield itself becomes an interactive element as collapsing structures, magical wards, and environmental hazards challenge both sides. This approach combines strategic complexity with high-octane visual spectacle, consistent with the franchise's established aesthetic. Fan narratives also frequently highlight the strategic use of hybrid powers in these conflicts. Hybrids, possessing traits of both vampires and lycans, can adapt to changing circumstances, making them formidable in combat. Eve, in particular, is imagined as central to many of these sequences. Her abilities might include superhuman agility, regenerative healing, enhanced perception, and even the manipulation of mystical energy, allowing her to influence both allies and enemies. The unpredictability of hybrid abilities introduces tension and excitement into the battles, forcing both vampires and lycans to rethink conventional strategies and consider alliances they might otherwise reject. Beyond combat, the imagined Underworld 6 universe expands on supernatural lore, introducing artifacts, rituals, and lost knowledge that can alter the balance of power. Fan-created storylines often depict ancient texts or relics hidden in crypts, abandoned castles, or underground caverns. These objects may contain spells to amplify hybrid abilities, grant temporary dominion over other supernatural beings, or unlock forbidden powers that could reshape vampire-lycan relations. Such elements are used to drive both plot and character development, as Selene and her allies must decide whether the potential benefits outweigh the moral and strategic risks of using these powerful items. The interplay of knowledge, power, and ethical choice adds complexity to the narrative, emphasizing that victory in this supernatural war is as much about intellect and wisdom as it is about combat prowess. Fan-imagined storylines also explore the political dynamics within vampire and Lycan societies. Vampires, traditionally hierarchical and rigid in their codes, face internal challenges from emerging factions that question authority and seek to expand their own influence. Similarly, Lycan clans are depicted as more politically sophisticated than in previous films, negotiating alliances, leveraging hybrid strengths, and occasionally betraying former allies for strategic advantage. These internal dynamics create opportunities for intrigue, deception, and plot twists, providing narrative tension that complements the action sequences. The complex interplay of loyalty, power, and personal ambition ensures that the story remains unpredictable and emotionally resonant. An essential feature of these fan-created arcs is the moral ambiguity present in character decisions. Selene, despite her formidable abilities, is often faced with choices that blur the line between right and wrong. For example, she may need to ally temporarily with a faction she distrusts, risk civilian lives to achieve a strategic advantage, or confront ethical dilemmas regarding the use of hybrid powers. These narrative choices are intended to deepen her character, emphasizing that leadership and heroism in the supernatural world are rarely straightforward. The interplay of personal morality with overarching strategic objectives adds layers of narrative sophistication, allowing the story to explore themes of responsibility, sacrifice, and the cost of survival. Fan concepts also extend to the introduction of new supernatural environments, such as mist-shrouded forests where Lycans stage guerrilla attacks, abandoned industrial complexes repurposed as vampire lairs, and hidden sanctuaries where hybrids train or experiment with their abilities. Each environment is designed to influence the action, creating challenges and opportunities for characters. Terrain and architecture are not merely backdrops but active elements in the storytelling, shaping the dynamics of combat and strategy while reinforcing the gothic, immersive aesthetic of the Underworld universe. In addition to battles and environments, fan-imagined sequences often feature emotionally charged confrontations between key characters. Selene may confront former allies who have betrayed her, face rivals with personal vendettas, or interact with hybrids who challenge her understanding of loyalty and power. These interactions are crafted to provide moments of tension, reflection, and character development, balancing the high-energy combat scenes with dramatic depth. Through these sequences, the narrative explores themes of trust, redemption, and the consequences of past choices, ensuring that the story resonates on both emotional and thematic levels. Finally, fan narratives suggest that the climactic resolution of Underworld 6 could involve a convergence of all factions, vampires, Lycans, hybrids, and ancient purebloods, in a decisive confrontation that determines the future of the supernatural world. This finale is imagined as a combination of large-scale combat, strategic maneuvering, and personal duels, where the stakes are both cosmic and intimate. Selene's leadership, Eve's emerging powers, and the actions of key allies are envisioned as determining the outcome, reinforcing the narrative's emphasis on courage, ingenuity, and the complexities of morality. The dawn broke over the city, shrouded in the lingering fog of a night that had been anything but quiet. Selene and Eve emerged from the ruins of the Antigen Dynamics facility, their clothes scorched, weapons bloodied, and minds racing with the implications of what they had uncovered. The hybrids they had encountered were not merely experiments, they were prototypes, a glimpse of a future where the boundaries between vampire, Lycan, and human could be manipulated at will. Eve, her senses heightened, moved with a quiet intensity, scanning the skyline for signs of lingering threats. She understood instinctively that the war was far from over. What they had just witnessed was a prelude to something far greater, an evolution in the centuries-old conflict that would challenge everything Selene had fought to protect. Meanwhile, the political climate within the Vampire Coven was reaching a boiling point. Elders who had previously supported Selene in her rise to power were now questioning her methods and her reliance on Eve, whose hybrid nature made some of them uneasy. They whispered about ancient prophecies, half-forgotten texts, and the risk of unleashing uncontrollable power upon the world. These tensions manifested in secretive councils and midnight meetings, where subtle threats were veiled beneath polite conversation, and alliances shifted like shadows. Selene, aware of the simmering dissent, worked tirelessly to maintain unity, knowing that the strength of the coven was critical to countering both the hybrid threat and the Lycan resurgence. Kale, the Lycan Alpha who had survived the purges of previous wars, became a central figure in this ongoing conflict. His motivations were complex. While he sought to protect his species and ensure their survival, his methods were increasingly ruthless. Kale understood the value of intelligence and strategy, often outmaneuvering both vampire and human forces with precise strikes and psychological warfare. His interactions with Selene were fraught with tension, each recognizing the other's strength and determination. There were moments when a fragile mutual respect emerged, especially when facing mutual threats, but trust remained elusive. Kale's leadership was both his greatest strength and his vulnerability, as internal power struggles within the Lycan ranks threatened to undermine his plans. Eve's growing powers became a focal point of both opportunity and conflict. She discovered that her hybrid nature allowed her to perceive and influence the instincts of lesser Lycans, subtly directing their movements or calming their aggression. This ability made her a valuable asset in the war against Kale's forces but also a source of fear and misunderstanding among the vampires. Selene, recognizing her daughter's potential, began to mentor her more intensively, balancing tactical instruction with moral guidance. Their relationship deepened, revealing layers of trust, frustration, and mutual dependence. Eve struggled with the duality of her identity, questioning whether she could ever fully embrace either side of her nature or if she was destined to remain in a liminal state, forever balancing between two worlds. The narrative introduced new hybrid antagonists, each with unique abilities and temperaments. These creatures were not mere physical threats, they were intelligent, capable of strategy, and in some cases, exhibited traits reminiscent of their human creators. One hybrid, known only by the codename Rays, demonstrated an almost sociopathic cunning, orchestrating attacks that tested Selene and Eve to their limits. Another, a female hybrid named Virella, combined agility, speed, and precision, creating confrontations that felt as much like intricate duels as chaotic battles. The hybrid's diversity emphasized the stakes of uncontrolled experimentation, highlighting both the ethical dilemmas and the tactical challenges faced by the protagonists. The human element in the conflict became increasingly prominent. Antigen Dynamics was revealed to be only one faction among a network of clandestine organizations seeking to exploit supernatural biology. These groups operated internationally, infiltrating governments, private corporations, and even criminal networks to secure resources, technology, and knowledge. Selene and Eve faced not only immediate physical threats but also the challenge of navigating this global web of intrigue. Intelligence gathering, subterfuge, and counterintelligence became as important as combat skills, adding a cerebral layer to the narrative. Strategic missions involved infiltrating secure facilities, decrypting coded communications, and uncovering hidden agendas, all while maintaining the secrecy of the Vampire Lycan War from the general populace. In one particularly tense sequence, Selene and Eve ventured into a hidden research station in Eastern Europe, perched atop a snow-covered mountain and guarded by elite human mercenaries and hybrid enforcers. The station contained data on the genetic experiments, blueprints for next-generation hybrids, and records of clandestine operations spanning decades. The infiltration required a combination of stealth, precision, and improvisation, showcasing Selene's expertise and Eve's burgeoning hybrid abilities. The operation culminated in a confrontation with a hybrid enforcer named Drake, whose strength and cunning rivaled even Selene's, forcing both mother and daughter to collaborate in unprecedented ways. The sequence highlighted their evolving relationship, with Eve taking initiative and demonstrating independence, while Selene provided guidance and support. As the narrative progressed, the story delved deeper into the lore of vampire and Lycan origins. Ancient manuscripts, cryptic carvings, and hidden archives revealed that the hybridization of Lycans and vampires was not merely a modern experiment but the continuation of a lineage with roots stretching back centuries. Selene and Eve uncovered evidence of early hybrid progenitors, whose existence had been deliberately obscured by both factions to maintain control over their respective species. These discoveries added historical depth, connecting the present conflict to long-forgotten events and suggesting that the battle between vampires and lichens was only one chapter in a larger, ongoing saga. The story also explored the psychological toll of war. Selene, despite her formidable skills, grappled with trauma, survivor's guilt, and the constant pressure of leadership. Eve, caught between adolescence and the weight of her hybrid destiny, struggled with isolation, self-doubt, and the fear of becoming a weapon rather than a person. These internal conflicts were mirrored in the broader narrative, as characters faced ethical dilemmas, questioned loyalties, and confronted the consequences of choices made under duress. The narrative emphasized that the war was as much about identity, morality, and legacy as it was about physical survival. Romantic and interpersonal subplots were subtly woven into the storyline, adding layers of complexity. Potential romantic tension between Eve and a Lycan ally introduced moral ambiguity and personal stakes, challenging the clear lines of allegiance. Similarly, Selene's interactions with former allies and rivals revealed unresolved emotions, lingering regrets, and moments of vulnerability, humanizing a character often defined by her lethal efficiency. These subplots enriched the narrative, providing contrast to the high-octane action and deepening audience investment in character outcomes. The climactic sequences were meticulously structured to maximize tension and narrative payoff. Multiple threads converged in a sprawling urban battleground, where human mercenaries, hybrid experiments, Lycan packs, and vampire warriors collided in an intricately choreographed storm of violence. Selene and Eve coordinated tactical maneuvers, leveraged their abilities, and confronted Kale and Reyes in sequences that tested physical prowess, strategic thinking, and emotional resilience. Explosions, collapsing structures, and shifting allegiances created dynamic, unpredictable combat scenarios, while quieter moments between skirmishes allowed characters to reflect, strategize, and experience growth. The climax balanced spectacle with storytelling, ensuring that action served character development and narrative cohesion. Throughout the battle, Eve's hybrid powers became pivotal. She demonstrated the ability to mediate between conflicting forces, anticipate attacks, and manipulate the instincts of lesser hybrids, effectively turning potential threats into allies or distractions. This ability underscored her emerging role as a leader and foreshadowed the potential for her to shape the future of vampire-Lycan relations. Selene, recognizing Eve's growing independence, began to relinquish some control, signaling a shift in the mother-daughter dynamic and laying the foundation for future narratives where Eve may take center stage. The resolution of the central conflict was multifaceted. Antigen Dynamics' primary operations were dismantled, rogue hybrid prototypes were neutralized or secured, and Kale's forces were driven into retreat, leaving open the possibility of future negotiation or confrontation. Vampire Coven politics were temporarily stabilized, but the underlying tensions hinted at future power struggles. Eve's abilities and decisions demonstrated her potential to influence the trajectory of both species, while Selene's leadership was reaffirmed, tempered by experience and the evolving role of her daughter. The conclusion was both satisfying and deliberately open-ended, providing closure to immediate threats while establishing narrative possibilities for subsequent installments or spin-offs. The visual style of the film would be a continuation and refinement of franchise conventions. Dark, moody environments, ranging from urban decay to subterranean catacombs and snowy mountain peaks, would be contrasted with dynamic, fast-paced action sequences. Practical stunts, wirework, and choreography would be enhanced by CGI, particularly for hybrid transformations and supernatural abilities, creating a visceral and immersive experience. Lighting, color grading, and set design would emphasize the Gothic aesthetic while highlighting the moral and emotional tones of the narrative, ensuring that every scene contributed to both story and atmosphere. Music and sound design would play a critical role, blending orchestral scores with electronic elements, industrial sounds, and subtle motifs tied to character arcs and supernatural themes. The audio experience would heighten tension, emphasize emotional beats, and reinforce the kinetic energy of combat sequences. Voice modulation for hybrids, subtle creature growls, and the impact of supernatural powers would contribute to a cohesive sensory experience, immersing the audience in a world that is at once fantastical, threatening, and emotionally resonant. In the imagined context of Underworld 6, the mythology that has been carefully crafted over the previous 5 films could be significantly expanded. The series has always relied on a detailed hierarchy of vampires and lycans, each species governed by strict rules, traditions, and leadership structures. Vampires, for example, operate under a council of elders, each with authority over specific covens, and are guided by centuries of accumulated knowledge, magic, and combat expertise. Lycans, in contrast, organize themselves around alpha leaders, with an emphasis on strength, survival instincts, and loyalty within the pack. The previous films established that these species are not simply defined by physical abilities but also by genetic and supernatural enhancements, hybridization, and centuries-long bloodlines, which allow for complex political maneuvering and personal motivations. In Underworld 6, it is plausible that the narrative would further explore these systems, perhaps introducing previously unseen vampire covens or lycan packs in distant regions of the world, each with their own customs, fighting techniques, and alliances. Such expansions would serve both to deepen the lore and to provide fresh visual and narrative environments, creating the potential for dramatic clashes, negotiations, and betrayals. The character of Selene would likely remain central, but the evolution of her role is a significant point of speculation. In previous films, she has transitioned from a loyal warrior to a nearly mythical figure with abilities far exceeding those of ordinary vampires. Her strategic mind, combat skill, and moral complexity position her as both a protector and a leader, which could be further explored in Underworld 6. Fan-created narratives imagine Selene taking on a mentor role for Eve and other hybrids, guiding them through the political and physical dangers of a world where old rivalries persist and new enemies emerge. These narratives often explore the tension between Selene's protective instincts toward Eve and her understanding that the next generation may have to make choices independent of her guidance, emphasizing themes of legacy, autonomy, and the burden of leadership. Eve, as a hybrid of vampire and lycan lineage, represents a new frontier for the franchise. Her character embodies both hope and unpredictability, capable of bridging gaps between the species or acting as a catalyst for renewed conflict. Fan speculation suggests that Underworld 6 could explore Eve's growth into a figure of power and independence, navigating moral dilemmas and forming alliances that challenge traditional loyalties. The mother-daughter dynamic between Selene and Eve could become a central emotional driver, contrasting with the high-intensity action and supernatural politics that define the franchise. The balance between familial bonds and the larger stakes of species survival could provide a rich narrative canvas, blending character-driven drama with epic supernatural conflict. New antagonists in Underworld 6 are imagined to be multifaceted and strategically complex. Unlike earlier installments where primary villains were often singular figures of immense power, speculative narratives suggest multiple layers of opposition, including rogue vampire elders dissatisfied with Selene's leadership, hybrid lycans who operate outside traditional pack hierarchies, and possibly other supernatural entities that have been dormant or hidden. These adversaries could present both physical and ideological challenges, forcing Selene and her allies to confront not only external threats but also internal divisions and ethical dilemmas. The concept of hybridization, previously introduced in the franchise, could be taken further, with new beings possessing unpredictable abilities that blur the line between vampire and lycan, creating both narrative tension and visually dynamic combat sequences. Fan-created battle scenarios for Underworld 6 often envision sprawling sequences across varied landscapes, combining Gothic architecture, urban environments, and natural settings that reflect the franchise's visual identity. These battles would emphasize strategic combat, the use of supernatural powers, and the interplay between individual heroism and group dynamics. Selene's combat style, blending agility, firearms, and vampire-enhanced strength, would remain central, but expanded powers for hybrids and enhanced lycans could create opportunities for inventive choreography, large-scale set pieces, and dramatic confrontations. These sequences, while speculative, adhere to the established franchise style while imagining the next evolution of its cinematic language. The political and social dynamics within vampire and Lycan societies could also be further developed in Underworld 6. Speculative storylines propose council meetings, power struggles, and negotiations between factions, highlighting the complexity of species governance and the impact of individual choices on collective survival. These narratives often emphasize that battles are not solely physical but also strategic and moral, reflecting the franchise's history of intertwining personal stakes with broader societal consequences. Character interactions, including alliances, betrayals, and reconciliations, would provide opportunities for deepening the emotional resonance of the story while maintaining high-stakes tension. In addition to narrative expansion, technological advancements in filmmaking and visual effects could enhance Underworld SX's presentation. Modern CGI, motion capture, and practical effects could allow for more elaborate depictions of supernatural abilities, hybrid transformations, and environmental destruction. Speculative scenes include Selene facing multiple hybrid adversaries simultaneously, leveraging both traditional combat and enhanced powers, as well as strategic uses of environmental elements in battle. Fans also imagine creative use of lighting, color grading, and cinematography to preserve the franchise's iconic aesthetic while exploring new visual dimensions. Supporting characters, both returning and new, would contribute to narrative depth and complexity. Theo James's character David, as a vampire elder and advisor, could play a role in guiding younger vampires and facilitating strategic alliances. Other potential returning characters include Charles Dance's elders or hybrid lineages linked to past events. New characters, as imagined in fan narratives, might include leaders of distant covens or packs, rogue hybrids, and other supernatural figures who expand the scope of the conflict and provide fresh narrative tension. The interplay between veteran characters and new entrants could explore themes of legacy, mentorship, and the evolution of power across generations. While much of this discussion is speculative, it demonstrates the franchise's potential for narrative and thematic growth. Underworld 6 could address unresolved questions from previous films, such as the fate of Eve, the political stability of vampire covens, and the potential for peace or renewed war between species. By blending established lore with imaginative extensions, the story could balance continuity with innovation, satisfying longtime fans while introducing new elements that expand the universe. Fan engagement, through discussion forums, creative writing, and video projects, suggests strong interest in these narrative directions, reflecting both the franchise's enduring appeal and the audience's desire for expanded storytelling. Even in the absence of official confirmation, the possibilities for Underworld 6 encompass both narrative and production considerations. The studio might choose to greenlight a cinematic release, a streaming series, or a hybrid approach that allows for episodic exploration of the universe alongside high-impact set-piece films. Each approach offers unique opportunities to explore the mythology, character arcs, and political dynamics that have defined the franchise, while leveraging modern production technology to enhance visual storytelling. The integration of fan feedback and speculative ideas into early conceptual planning could inform creative decisions, providing a roadmap for how the franchise might evolve in a way that balances tradition with contemporary audience expectations. In the imagined narrative of Underworld 6, the story could open several years after the events of Blood Wars, with the vampire and Lycan populations having reached a tenuous equilibrium. Selene, now a figure of legend among both species, operates as a guardian and strategist, ensuring that the fragile peace established in previous films does not collapse under the weight of lingering vendettas and emerging threats. Eve, now older and fully aware of her hybrid abilities, emerges from seclusion, having honed powers that surpass anything previously witnessed in the universe. Her presence introduces both hope and tension, as vampires and Lycans alike view her as a potentially decisive figure capable of tipping the balance in either direction. Early scenes might depict Selene and Eve navigating political intrigue among the vampire covens, attending councils to negotiate alliances and prevent the resurgence of factions who resist her leadership. These sequences would emphasize both dialogue-driven tension and subtle action, laying the groundwork for larger conflicts. As the narrative develops, a new antagonist is introduced, a genetically enhanced Lycan hybrid, created through experimental methods by rogue vampire and Lycan factions seeking to gain ultimate power. This antagonist embodies the combined strengths of both species while possessing unpredictable abilities, making them a formidable opponent. Fan speculation envisions the hybrid's introduction through a series of stealth attacks against both vampire and Lycan outposts, establishing them as a global threat that forces Selene, Eve, and their allies to coordinate strategies across vast territories. This narrative device allows for the introduction of new characters, new covens, and distant packs, while maintaining the franchise's signature aesthetic of dark, misty, and gothic environments interspersed with modern urban settings. The story could unfold across multiple key locations, each serving both narrative and visual purposes. Vampire Coven strongholds might appear as sprawling castles or high-rise fortress-like complexes, blending ancient architecture with modern technology. Lycan packs could inhabit rugged landscapes, dense forests, or abandoned urban industrial zones, reflecting their adaptability and wild nature. Hybrid zones, where rogue experiments have altered the natural order, could feature visually striking and dangerous environments, including subterranean laboratories, abandoned catacombs, and desolate cities under perpetual storm clouds. Each setting provides opportunities for elaborate battle choreography, dramatic tension, and narrative symbolism, emphasizing the ongoing struggle between species, ideology, and survival. Action sequences in Underworld 6 are imagined to push the franchise's visual and technical boundaries. Selene, armed with her signature dual pistols and enhanced vampire abilities, would face off against multiple adversaries simultaneously, integrating acrobatic combat, precise marksmanship, and strategic environmental use. Eve, with her hybrid powers, could demonstrate both vampiric agility and Lycan strength, allowing for creative battle combinations such as high-speed aerial maneuvers, rapid regeneration during combat, and shape-shifting attacks. Key battles might include rooftop duels under stormy skies, subterranean confrontations with collapsing structures, and large-scale engagements where vampires and Lycans are forced into temporary alliances to confront the hybrid threat. These sequences would maintain the kinetic energy of the franchise while integrating imaginative extensions of character abilities. Thematically, Underworld 6 could explore questions of identity, legacy, and the possibility of coexistence. Selene's arc would emphasize the burden of leadership, the cost of loyalty, and the challenge of guiding a new generation while confronting personal grief and loss. Eve's arc could center on autonomy, moral decision-making, and the responsibility that comes with extraordinary power. The antagonist's arc, representing hybrid experimentation and unchecked ambition, serves as a cautionary parallel, demonstrating the dangers of power divorced from ethical considerations. Interpersonal conflicts, political maneuvering, and moral dilemmas would intertwine with the action sequences, ensuring that the story balances spectacle with character-driven depth. Supporting characters, both returning and new, would contribute layers of complexity to the narrative. Theo James's character, David, could provide guidance on political strategy and act as a bridge between vampire and Lycan factions, reinforcing themes of reconciliation and alliance. Returning elders, such as Charles Dance's characters, could appear in advisory roles or as sources of historical knowledge, enriching the narrative with context and stakes. New characters, including leaders of distant covens, rogue hybrids, and experimental Lycan units, would expand the scope of the conflict, offering opportunities for character development, betrayals, and dynamic alliances. A potential narrative climax in Underworld 6 could involve a confrontation in a neutral or hybrid territory where the stakes are highest. Selene and Eve, having united various factions and developed innovative strategies, face the genetically enhanced hybrid antagonist in a battle that tests both physical prowess and strategic acumen. This sequence might include dramatic set-piece elements such as collapsing structures, environmental hazards, and simultaneous conflicts among multiple factions, culminating in a resolution that balances personal stakes with species-wide consequences. Victory could be achieved through a combination of tactical ingenuity, familial bond between Selene and Eve, and strategic use of their combined powers, emphasizing both emotional and action-driven payoff. Following the climax, narrative resolution could focus on rebuilding and reconciliation. Vampire and Lycan societies, having survived the hybrid threat, might establish new frameworks for cooperation, integrating lessons learned from previous conflicts. Selene's leadership role could evolve into a more advisory or mentor capacity, allowing the next generation, including Eve, to assume greater responsibility for shaping the future of their species. Themes of hope, growth, and legacy would dominate the closing sequences, balancing the franchise's dark aesthetic with a sense of renewal and possibility. Throughout this imagined installment, Underworld 6 could integrate franchise hallmarks such as gothic cinematography, stylized action, and intense character drama, while expanding into new narrative territory through hybrid powers, global conflicts, and advanced visual effects. The integration of previously unexplored covens, new hybrid characters, and complex political dynamics would offer fresh storytelling opportunities while maintaining continuity with the established lore. Fan-created concepts often emphasize these possibilities, imagining a cinematic experience that combines the visceral thrill of previous films with deeper emotional resonance and expansive world-building. While these narrative elements remain speculative, they illustrate the franchise's potential for growth and reinvention. By exploring themes of identity, legacy, and coexistence, Underworld 6 could provide a satisfying continuation of the Selene and Eve saga, while introducing new characters, factions, and conflicts that expand the universe in meaningful ways. The combination of action, mythology, and character development would ensure that the franchise remains engaging for longtime fans while appealing to new audiences through dynamic storytelling, imaginative visuals, and evolving character arcs. The mythology of the Underworld universe allows for limitless exploration of character powers, particularly in hybrids who embody the strengths and traits of both vampires and lycans. Hybrids possess remarkable regenerative abilities, allowing them to recover from injuries that would be fatal to ordinary vampires or lycans. Their physical strength surpasses that of either species individually, granting them the capacity to lift heavy objects, deliver devastating blows, and engage multiple opponents simultaneously. Their agility, reflexes, and speed are enhanced to superhuman levels, making them capable of feats akin to teleportation in combat situations, leaping across rooftops, evading attacks with uncanny precision, and outmaneuvering even the most experienced vampire warriors. The enhanced senses of hybrids allow for heightened perception in both daylight and darkness, including advanced hearing, night vision, and the ability to detect subtle changes in the environment that could indicate ambushes or traps. These abilities make hybrids pivotal players in any conflict, particularly when the stakes involve the survival of multiple species or the protection of key artifacts and territories. In Underworld 6, Eve's evolution as a hybrid could be portrayed as a unique advancement, potentially surpassing even Michael Corvin in terms of speed, strategic intelligence, and adaptability. Her growth would be marked by not only physical prowess but the development of leadership skills, strategic thinking, and the ability to navigate the complex political landscape of vampire and lycan society. Such character development provides narrative depth, as Eve must reconcile the immense responsibilities placed upon her with her personal desires, fears, and ethical considerations. The battles depicted in this speculative installment could involve multi-tiered confrontations, beginning in shadowed urban streets and escalating to rooftops, abandoned industrial facilities, underground tunnels, and ancient vampire sanctuaries. Each environment would be leveraged to maximize the intensity and visual impact of combat, incorporating environmental hazards, traps, and the use of terrain in tactical maneuvers. Large-scale sequences could feature coordinated attacks between vampire factions, lycan packs, and hybrid collectives, illustrating the complexity of alliances and enmities that define the Underworld. The choreography of these battles would not merely be spectacle, each move, strike, and maneuver could serve to illustrate character traits, strategic acumen, and emotional stakes. For example, Eve's agility and strength could be contrasted with the raw ferocity of lycan warriors, the disciplined precision of pureblood vampires, and the unpredictable strategies of rogue hybrids. The narrative stakes could also be heightened through the introduction of ancient vampire artifacts capable of amplifying powers, controlling subordinate factions, or altering the natural laws of the Underworld. The retrieval, defense, or destruction of these artifacts could drive the plot, forcing characters to make difficult decisions regarding trust, loyalty, and sacrifice. Within this framework, political intrigue would be a crucial narrative component. Vampire councils, traditionally secretive and manipulative, could be depicted negotiating with rogue Lycan leaders or hybrid representatives to prevent large-scale conflict or to manipulate outcomes in their favor. These negotiations, betrayals, and strategic decisions would provide tension beyond physical combat, engaging audiences with cerebral and moral challenges. Expanding on the history of the vampire clans, the purebloods could be portrayed as entities with centuries of accumulated knowledge, experience in both governance and warfare, and mystical abilities that differentiate them from ordinary vampires. Their influence is both political and mystical, allowing them to manipulate events subtly or enforce directives with devastating consequences. Conversely, the Lycan tribes could be depicted as having evolved differently based on environmental pressures and cultural practices, with some factions adhering to strict pack hierarchy while others operate as rogue units, prioritizing survival, territorial expansion, or vengeance. These differences create opportunities for nuanced storytelling, exploring the effects of culture, leadership, and historical grievances on the course of the war. In fan speculation, new hybrid factions might emerge, challenging the established power structures. These collectives could advocate for coexistence between vampires and Lycans, the dominance of hybrid species, or the liberation of oppressed groups within the underworld. Their introduction would create tension, forcing established leaders to confront changing dynamics and re-evaluate alliances, ultimately shaping the narrative arc toward the emergence of a new social and political order. Character development would remain central to the story. Selene, as a mentor and mother figure, would provide guidance, strategy, and moral perspective, balancing her personal experiences with the need to empower Eve and other emerging hybrids. Their relationship could explore themes of legacy, the transfer of knowledge, generational differences, and the evolution of leadership qualities in a world where survival requires both strength and wisdom. Supporting characters, whether returning from previous films or newly introduced, would contribute to the richness of the narrative. Figures like David, previously depicted as a hybrid ally, could play critical roles in strategic operations, intelligence gathering, or moral guidance, reflecting the interplay between experience and innovation within the hybrid community. Additional vampire or Lycan characters could be developed with distinct personalities, motivations, and ethical frameworks, creating opportunities for conflict, collaboration, and narrative tension that enhance both character-driven and action-driven aspects of the story. A potential storyline could involve Eve leading a mission to reclaim an ancient sanctuary overrun by rogue purebloods and Lycan renegades. The mission would require a combination of stealth, combat strategy, and negotiation, with stakes involving not only the survival of the team but the protection of critical artifacts and information that could influence the balance of power. Environmental storytelling could be integrated into these sequences, using architectural design, ambient sound, and visual cues to convey danger, history, and the cultural significance of locations. The psychological dimensions of immortality could also be explored. Characters might struggle with the weight of centuries of conflict, the isolation inherent in long life, and the challenge of maintaining ethical clarity in morally ambiguous circumstances. Such exploration would deepen audience engagement, illustrating that the stakes extend beyond physical survival to include mental, emotional, and social challenges. In addition to conflict, the narrative could explore themes of love, loyalty, and betrayal, with romantic subplots, familial relationships, and friendships providing emotional resonance. Eve's interactions with other hybrids or key figures from vampire and Lycan societies could highlight the tensions between personal desires and broader responsibilities, reinforcing the thematic depth of the story. The inclusion of supernatural abilities beyond basic hybrid traits could enhance the narrative and action sequences. For instance, advanced healing techniques, temporary power amplification, enhanced perception, or the manipulation of environmental factors could create dynamic combat scenarios and narrative complexity. Such abilities would require strategic thinking, ethical consideration, and collaboration, further enriching character development and plot progression. Political intrigue could be deepened through the depiction of council debates, covert alliances, espionage, and assassination attempts. Vampire lords and Lycan alphas could employ strategy, deception, and influence to manipulate outcomes, creating a web of uncertainty and tension that challenges characters to adapt and evolve. Fan speculation suggests that ancient rivalries between vampire and lichen factions, dating back centuries, could be leveraged by ambitious hybrids to challenge traditional hierarchies, introducing narrative arcs that explore innovation versus tradition, ethical dilemmas, and the consequences of defying established norms. Moreover, the narrative could explore the ethical implications of hybridization itself. The creation of beings with extraordinary abilities raises questions about autonomy, responsibility, and the potential for unintended consequences. Characters might confront the moral ramifications of their own existence, the use of powers for personal gain versus communal survival, and the potential disruption of natural order. Symbolism and thematic resonance could be woven throughout the story. Gothic architecture, shadowed landscapes, and ritualistic elements would reinforce the tone, while the interplay of light and darkness could metaphorically reflect the moral and ethical struggles faced by characters. Visual storytelling, combined with layered narrative content, would ensure that each scene contributes to both plot progression and thematic depth. Finally, the climax of Underworld 6 could feature a convergence of vampire, lichen, and hybrid factions in an epic, multi-layered confrontation. The resolution might involve a redefined balance of power, the emergence of new leaders, and the establishment of a tentative peace, while leaving narrative threads open for future exploration. This balance between closure and potential continuation would honor the legacy of the franchise while maintaining creative flexibility for subsequent storytelling. The speculative nature of Underworld 6, while unconfirmed by official sources, demonstrates the richness and depth of the Underworld universe. The franchise's combination of gothic horror, action-driven spectacle, character complexity, and mythological depth provides an expansive canvas for storytelling, ensuring that future installments, whether official or fan-imagined, can continue to engage, thrill, and resonate with audiences. By integrating intricate character development, political intrigue, supernatural abilities, and philosophical reflection on immortality and morality, the narrative of Underworld 6 has the potential to evolve the franchise while remaining faithful to its core identity, offering both spectacle and substance in a unified cinematic experience. The Underworld film series is a long-running supernatural action horror franchise that began in 2003 and revolves around the secret war between vampires and lichens, also known as werewolves. From its inception, the series distinguished itself by blending gothic horror, high-octane action, and complex mythology. The universe it created is one where immortal creatures have existed for centuries, hidden from human society yet influencing history and events from the shadows. Vampires, with their rigid hierarchy and ancient traditions, coexist uneasily with lichens, shapeshifters who have long been oppressed yet possess immense power when unified under capable leadership. The series' central character, Selene, portrayed by Kate Beckinsale, is a death dealer, an elite enforcer within the vampire coven, tasked with hunting lichens and preserving the balance of power between the two immortal species. Her character embodies loyalty, determination, and a relentless pursuit of justice, often navigating a world of deceit, betrayal, and the blurred lines between right and wrong. The original Underworld film, directed by Len Wiseman, introduced audiences to this shadowy, atmospheric universe with a narrative that combines personal drama with larger-scale supernatural conflict. Selene's life as a death dealer is disrupted when she encounters Michael Corvin, a human whose unique genetics make him pivotal to the vampire-lichen war. Michael's bloodline carries the potential to create hybrids, beings who inherit traits of both vampires and lichens, and this makes him an immediate target for both sides. The film also introduces Lucian, the first lichen capable of controlling his transformations, whose leadership and vision inspire a rebellion against centuries of vampire oppression. Through its storytelling, the movie explores themes of loyalty, betrayal, vengeance, and forbidden love, while its gothic visual style, characterized by dark corridors, misty landscapes, and stylized action sequences, sets it apart from conventional horror and action films of its time. The cinematography emphasizes both the elegance and the brutality of the vampire and lichen worlds, creating a tone that is simultaneously romantic, terrifying, and exhilarating. Underworld also laid the foundation for the franchise's approach to world building, detailing the hierarchies, politics, and histories of both vampires and lichens. Vampires are depicted as structured, disciplined, and bound by centuries-old covenants, while lichens represent the untamed and rebellious force, fighting against oppression and seeking freedom. The prequel elements hinted at by Lucian's origins introduced the notion of historical grievances, betrayals, and the cyclical nature of violence that fuels the war between species. This combination of personal storytelling and epic conflict provided fertile ground for sequels, allowing each subsequent installment to expand both the mythology and the character arcs. The series also explores ethical and moral ambiguities, alliances shift, characters' motivations are revealed in layers, and the consequences of immortality, vengeance, and power struggles are central to the narrative. The Underworld film franchise began in 2003, introducing audiences to a hidden world of vampires and lichens waging a centuries-old war under the veil of normal human society. It was a universe where Gothic aesthetics blended seamlessly with stylized action sequences, and where mythologies were layered upon mythologies, creating a deep and complex narrative tapestry. At the heart of this universe was Selene, a vampire death dealer portrayed by Kate Beckinsale, who operated with deadly efficiency against lichens while simultaneously unraveling the mysteries of her own existence and heritage. The original film established the fundamental premise of the series, an ongoing struggle between two immortal factions, each with its own history, hierarchy, and internal conflicts. The narrative was dark, tense, and brooding, setting a tone that would become the signature of the franchise. The success of the first film, both commercially and culturally, paved the way for subsequent sequels, each expanding the lore and escalating the stakes in terms of both action and mythological complexity. Following the original movie, Underworld, Evolution explored the deeper history of the Corvinus bloodline, revealing the origins of the first immortal and the source of both vampire and lichen lineage. It delved into the concept of immortality as a double-edged sword, illustrating the personal and political consequences of eternal life. The action sequences became more intricate, incorporating advanced visual effects and choreography, while the Gothic ambience was maintained to ensure continuity of style. Fans were particularly drawn to the layered character development, with Selene's motivations, vulnerabilities, and emotional arcs explored in greater depth. This sequel solidified the franchise's reputation for combining intense action with a rich, evolving mythology, and it demonstrated that the series could balance character-driven storytelling with large-scale supernatural conflict. The third film, Underworld, Rise of the Lichens, took a step back in time to explore the origins of the Lichen Uprising. This prequel revealed the backstory of Lucian, the first lichen to challenge vampire domination, and introduced new characters who embodied the struggle for freedom and equality within a rigid, hierarchical society. By focusing on historical narrative, the franchise added depth and dimension to the existing mythos, showing that the war between vampires and lichens was not merely a battle of species, but also a story about oppression, rebellion, and the consequences of power. The film was noted for its darker tone and epic scope, blending personal stories with sweeping historical conflict, and it laid the groundwork for thematic continuity in future installments. The fourth installment, Underworld, Awakening, transitioned the series into a more modern setting, integrating human awareness of the supernatural conflict and introducing a new generation of characters, including Selene's daughter Eve. This film raised the stakes by showing the consequences of secrecy being broken, as humans became aware of the existence of vampires and lichens. Selene, still a central figure, faced not only external threats but also the personal challenges of motherhood, loyalty, and leadership. The action sequences intensified, incorporating futuristic elements and more elaborate visual effects, while the narrative explored themes of legacy, survival, and identity. The film served as a bridge between the origin stories and contemporary developments in the series, positioning characters like Eve as potential future protagonists and expanding the scope of the franchise into new narrative territory. Underworld, Blood Wars, the fifth film, brought many of the ongoing narrative threads to a climax. Selene confronted both old and new enemies, navigating treacherous alliances and complex moral dilemmas. The delicate balance of power between vampires and lichens, already strained by centuries of war and betrayal, faced further disruption from emerging threats and internal factionalism. The film emphasized the cost of eternal life, the consequences of leadership, and the fragility of peace, even when achieved temporarily. While providing a sense of closure to several arcs, Blood Wars left sufficient ambiguity and unresolved potential for future storytelling, creating fertile ground for fan speculation and the possibility of a sixth installment. Fans' interest in Underworld 6 has been fueled by this unresolved potential, and over the years, numerous speculative narratives and theories have emerged. Central to these fan theories is the question of what new threats could challenge Selene, Eve, or a new protagonist. Some suggest the return of ancient vampire lords, previously thought extinct, wielding powers far surpassing those seen in earlier films. Others speculate on the emergence of hybrid creatures that combine the strengths of both vampires and lycans, presenting an unprecedented danger that requires cooperation and ingenuity to overcome. The potential for intergenerational conflict, exploring the relationships between Selene, Eve, and any new characters, is also a rich vein for storytelling, emphasizing themes of legacy, identity, and the weight of historical decisions. Additionally, fans theorize about exploring untold aspects of vampire society, such as political intrigue, secret alliances, and forbidden rituals. The Corvinus bloodline, central to the franchise's mythology, remains a source of mystery and narrative potential. Speculations include hidden heirs, secret powers, or ancient knowledge that could shift the balance between factions. In parallel, the Lycan hierarchy offers opportunities for exploring themes of rebellion, freedom, and survival under oppression, potentially creating a complex narrative that balances action with deep ethical and social considerations. Because there has been no official announcement of Underworld 6, much of the content circulating online consists of fan-made trailers, concept art, and AI-generated visuals. These creations often depict intense battles, Gothic architecture, and hybridized creatures, reflecting the aesthetic and thematic sensibilities of the franchise. While visually compelling, these materials do not represent confirmed production plans, cast involvement, or plotlines. Nevertheless, they demonstrate the enduring interest and creativity of the fanbase, as well as the cultural impact of the franchise in shaping modern interpretations of supernatural action narratives. The potential cast of a hypothetical Underworld 6 is also a topic of extensive speculation. While Kate Beckinsale has been closely associated with the franchise, her return is uncertain, given previous statements expressing reluctance to reprise her role. Fans have speculated about introducing new protagonists, possibly including Eve, hybrid characters, or entirely new figures whose narratives intersect with existing mythologies. The casting possibilities extend beyond returning actors, encompassing potential international talent, emerging stars, and characters designed to expand the universe both thematically and narratively. The interplay between legacy characters and new entrants could provide rich storytelling opportunities, exploring themes of mentorship, succession, and the evolution of supernatural society. The setting and visual style of a potential sixth film would likely continue the franchise's signature Gothic and urban aesthetic, blending European architecture with contemporary environments. Filming locations might include dark castles, underground lairs, industrial complexes, and modern cities, providing a contrast between ancient supernatural traditions and contemporary human society. This juxtaposition has been central to the franchise's visual identity, reinforcing themes of secrecy, hidden histories, and the collision of timeless conflict with modern realities. Narratively, a potential Underworld 6 could explore unresolved questions from previous films, including the fate of certain characters, the stability of the vampire Lycan truce, and the consequences of prior battles on both factions. Fan speculation frequently highlights the importance of moral ambiguity, showing that even immortal beings face choices with complex ethical ramifications. Themes of loyalty, betrayal, love, vengeance, and power continue to resonate, offering fertile ground for stories that challenge characters both emotionally and strategically. In addition to plot and character development, the potential sixth installment would likely expand on action choreography, integrating innovative fight sequences, elaborate stunts, and advanced visual effects. The franchise has a history of combining martial arts, weapon-based combat, and supernatural abilities, creating visually striking battles that are both cinematic and narratively meaningful. The escalation of threat levels, introduction of new powers, and creative use of setting can all contribute to maintaining audience engagement while preserving the franchise's established aesthetic and thematic identity. Fan theories also speculate about the exploration of previously unseen supernatural creatures or magical elements, expanding the mythological scope of the series. Ancient vampire sects, rogue Lycan clans, and hybrid entities could serve as central antagonists, each with unique abilities and motivations. These elements could enrich the narrative, providing opportunities for conflict, alliance, and character growth. Furthermore, exploring the socio-political dynamics within both vampire and Lycan societies could add depth, showing that conflicts are not merely physical but also ideological, strategic, and personal. Another intriguing aspect of fan speculation involves the possibility of a television series spin-off rather than a theatrical release. A serialized format could allow for deeper exploration of character backstories, world-building, and interwoven plotlines. Such a series could examine the daily lives, rituals, and hierarchies within vampire and Lycan societies, providing a more nuanced perspective on the broader conflict. Serialized storytelling might also enable more complex character development, emotional arcs, and moral dilemmas, complementing or even replacing the traditional feature-length film approach. Despite the lack of official confirmation, the ongoing interest in Underworld 6 demonstrates the franchise's cultural resonance and enduring fanbase. Discussions about plot, characters, settings, and possible outcomes continue across social media, fan forums, and speculative blogs. These conversations highlight the desire for continuation, expansion, and exploration of the franchise's themes, as well as the willingness of fans to engage creatively with its mythology, producing content ranging from detailed fan fiction to elaborate visual concepts. The combination of gothic aesthetics, complex supernatural lore, and emotionally resonant character arcs has ensured the franchise's lasting appeal. Its exploration of immortality, conflict, and morality resonates with audiences while providing a rich foundation for potential future installments. The anticipation of Underworld 6, whether realized as a theatrical release, television series, or hybrid media project, remains a testament to the enduring fascination with this dark, immersive world. The deep history of vampires within the Underworld universe is one of grandeur, cunning, and tragedy. The pureblood lineage, the oldest and most powerful of all vampires, traces its origins back millennia, predating the rise of human civilizations. Their immortality has allowed them to accumulate vast knowledge, refine combat techniques, and manipulate politics and society with subtle precision. Ancient archives, preserved in hidden sanctuaries, contain secrets of blood rituals, mystical artifacts, and the arcane arts of mind control and sorcery. These secrets are jealously guarded, often determining the outcomes of internal power struggles and influencing the hierarchy of vampire society. The recurring theme in vampire history is the tension between tradition and adaptation. While purebloods often cling to ancient codes and methods, younger generations or rebellious factions sometimes challenge these norms, seeking to innovate, experiment, or integrate hybrid abilities to gain advantage. These tensions form fertile ground for political intrigue, subterfuge, and the occasional violent purge, creating a narrative landscape rich with conflict, betrayal, and moral ambiguity. Lycans, in contrast, have evolved differently, with a society rooted in strength, loyalty, and survival instincts. While they possess intelligence and strategic capability, their social structure is influenced by environmental pressures and the leadership of dominant alphas. Throughout history, the Lycans have been subjugated, hunted, or marginalized by vampire dominance, leading to recurring rebellions and guerrilla tactics designed to destabilize vampire authority. These rebellions are often motivated by vengeance, survival, or territorial expansion, giving Lycan society a dynamic and adaptive quality that contrasts with the rigidity of vampire hierarchies. In imagining Underworld 6, the interplay between vampire conservatism, Lycan adaptability, and hybrid innovation creates a rich tapestry of narrative possibilities. Hybrids, representing the convergence of these two powerful species, serve as catalysts for change, challenging traditional boundaries and forcing characters to confront their own beliefs, loyalties, and ethical frameworks. The process of hybridization itself, explored through Michael Corvin's legacy and potentially through Eve's emergence, raises profound ethical and philosophical questions. The creation of beings with enhanced abilities, combining the strengths of vampire and lichen physiology, introduces dilemmas about autonomy, responsibility, and the potential for unforeseen consequences. Characters must navigate not only the physical challenges of power but also the psychological burden of existence as entities that do not fully belong to either parent species. These explorations can deepen audience engagement, as viewers are invited to consider the complexities of identity, morality, and legacy. Psychological tension within characters would be a key component of Underworld 6. Immortality imposes unique challenges, the weight of centuries of experiences, repeated losses, and the isolation inherent in living far beyond normal human lifespans. Selene, Eve, and other principal characters could struggle with trauma, survivor's guilt, and the burden of leadership. Their personal arcs would be intertwined with broader political and military conflicts, creating a multidimensional narrative where internal struggles mirror external battles. Action sequences in this speculative installment could be envisioned on a grand scale, combining the franchise's signature Gothic aesthetic with modern cinematic technology. Rooftop battles under moonlight, high-speed chases through rain-slicked streets, subterranean conflicts in ancient sanctuaries, and sprawling engagements in urban or natural landscapes could be choreographed to highlight hybrid abilities, vampire agility, and lichen ferocity. Environmental elements, such as collapsing structures, treacherous terrain, and strategically deployed traps, could amplify the intensity and stakes of these encounters. Narrative tension could also be heightened by the presence of powerful supernatural artifacts. These relics, often imbued with mystical properties, could alter the balance of power, enhance abilities, or provide strategic leverage. Their recovery, defense, or destruction could drive the plot, necessitating difficult decisions about morality, loyalty, and long-term consequences. In addition, political intrigue among vampire and lichen leaders would provide cerebral engagement alongside visceral action. Council debates, clandestine negotiations, espionage, and manipulation of subordinate factions would create a complex web of alliances and enmities, forcing characters to employ both strategic acumen and moral discernment. Romantic and familial dynamics would serve as a counterpoint to these conflicts, providing emotional resonance. The relationship between Selene and Eve, for example, could explore themes of mentorship, generational differences, legacy, and the emotional burden of leadership. Eve's interactions with other hybrids or key vampire and lichen figures could explore trust, loyalty, love, and the ethical challenges of power. A central speculative plotline could involve the rise of a new faction of hybrid insurgents. These hybrids might seek to overthrow traditional vampire hierarchies, broker peace between conflicting factions, or pursue dominance over both vampires and lichens. Such a development introduces moral ambiguity, as characters must choose between cooperation, opposition, or manipulation to achieve their objectives. Expanding on the vampire-lichen conflict, historical rivalries, ancient betrayals, and unresolved vendettas could resurface, influencing contemporary decisions. Characters may confront the consequences of their predecessors' choices, creating narrative arcs that intertwine personal responsibility with the broader socio-political dynamics of the Underworld. Additionally, Underworld 6 could explore the consequences of exposure to human society. While vampires and lichens have traditionally maintained secrecy, the existence of hybrids or rogue factions might risk revealing the supernatural to humans. This introduces ethical dilemmas and narrative tension, as characters must weigh strategic advantage against the potential for catastrophic exposure. The philosophical dimension of immortality could also be a central theme. Characters may ponder the nature of existence, the ethics of power, and the responsibility of those with extraordinary abilities. These reflections could be portrayed through dialogue, internal monologues, and narrative symbolism, reinforcing the franchise's tradition of blending action with intellectual and emotional depth. Symbolism and thematic resonance could be reinforced through visual design. Gothic architecture, shadowed cityscapes, and ritualistic imagery could convey cultural depth, historical significance, and narrative tension. The interplay of light and darkness could reflect moral ambiguity, ethical conflict, and the struggle for survival in a world where power is both coveted and dangerous. Epic climactic sequences could feature coordinated attacks, complex strategic maneuvers, and confrontations that challenge both physical and intellectual capabilities. Battles might involve intricate choreography, environmental hazards, and the integration of mystical elements, illustrating the convergence of vampire, Lycan, and hybrid abilities. These confrontations would not only provide spectacle but also reinforce character development, highlighting strategy, morality, and the consequences of leadership decisions. The resolution could see the establishment of a new balance of power, possibly led by Eve or another hybrid figure, reshaping the Underworld's political landscape. This conclusion would honor the legacy of prior films while leaving room for future narratives, maintaining the franchise's continuity and creative flexibility. In addition to physical conflict, interpersonal relationships and internal struggles would remain central. Characters would navigate betrayal, loyalty, love, and ambition, balancing personal desires with communal responsibilities. Such dynamics would provide emotional depth and enhance audience engagement, ensuring that the story resonates beyond its action sequences. The speculative nature of Underworld 6 allows for creative exploration, blending established lore with innovative storytelling. By integrating complex character arcs, philosophical considerations, political intrigue, and visually compelling action, the narrative could expand the franchise's mythology while remaining faithful to its core identity. Furthermore, the potential for transmedia storytelling, through comics, video games, and graphic novels, could enrich the universe, exploring side stories, historical events, and character backgrounds that complement the main cinematic narrative. By weaving together these elements, deep history, hybrid evolution, epic battles, psychological exploration, and moral complexity, Underworld 6 could offer a fully immersive experience that honors the franchise's legacy while introducing new dimensions of storytelling. The combination of Gothic aesthetics, supernatural mythology, intricate plotting, and character-driven drama ensures a narrative that is both engaging and visually spectacular. Ultimately, the continued expansion of the Underworld universe through a sixth installment reflects the enduring appeal of its characters, themes, and mythology, demonstrating the franchise's capacity to evolve while maintaining its distinctive identity. Audiences could anticipate a narrative that is simultaneously thrilling, emotionally resonant, and intellectually engaging, offering new insights into the lives of vampires, Lycans, and hybrids, and exploring the eternal struggle between tradition, innovation, morality, and survival. As the city settled into a fragile calm following the climactic battle, Selene and Eve retreated to the hidden sanctum of the Vampire Coven, a sprawling subterranean fortress carved into the foundations of an abandoned cathedral. The sanctuary was bathed in cold, ambient light that reflected off stone walls etched with centuries of history, from ancient vampire lineage charts to cryptic warnings about Lycan incursions. Here, the weight of leadership pressed heavily upon Selene. She moved among the Coven elders with a grace that belied exhaustion, listening carefully as disputes arose over strategy, resource allocation, and the ongoing monitoring of hybrid populations. Even as she maintained authority, she sensed the lingering unease among those who doubted her methods, whose whispers of prophecy and power struggles reminded her that peace was never permanent in the Underworld. Eve, meanwhile, explored the boundaries of her abilities, testing the limits of her hybrid nature within the sanctuary's controlled environment. She experimented with influencing the instincts of subordinate hybrids, learning to coax them into coordinated movement without resorting to dominance or aggression. The lessons were difficult, both physically and morally. She struggled with the knowledge that her power could manipulate life and death, and she wrestled with the fear of losing control. The sanctuary's labyrinthine passages became her training ground, where she honed precision, speed, and control, sometimes racing alongside Selene in simulated combat, sometimes confronting her own instincts alone. These sequences were psychologically charged, emphasizing the hybrid struggle as much as the external conflict. Beyond the immediate walls of the Coven, Cale regrouped his remaining Lycan forces in the shadows of the surrounding forests. His survival instincts had sharpened, and he began to reorganize his ranks into smaller, more agile units capable of evading both vampire patrols and human detection. Kale's strategic mind recognized the necessity of patience, learning from prior defeats. He began to craft alliances with rogue human elements, offering the promise of hybrid knowledge and protection in exchange for weapons, intelligence, and tactical support. This emerging alliance represented a new frontier in the war, where human ambition and supernatural power intersected unpredictably, heightening tension and raising the stakes for Selene and Eve. The narrative introduced secondary characters whose arcs enriched the story. Among them was Leora, a young vampire warrior who had trained under Selene's tutelage. Leora's loyalty, courage, and occasional recklessness added depth to the dynamics within the coven. She challenged Selene in subtle ways, questioning tactical decisions and raising ethical concerns about how hybrids were handled. Leora's personal growth paralleled Eve's, providing contrast between a vampire born and trained entirely within the coven and a hybrid navigating multiple worlds. Another character, Darius, a human mercenary reluctantly allied with Selene due to shared enemies, added tension and unpredictability. His knowledge of human weapons technology and unconventional strategies was invaluable, yet his motivations were murky, creating an uneasy trust that permeated key missions. The mythology of the Underworld universe expanded through discovered archives and cryptic texts, revealing that hybridization experiments had origins far older than previously believed. Records suggested that the first vampire Lycan hybrids were not mere accidents or modern manipulations but deliberate creations by a secret faction of ancient vampires seeking to harness Lycan resilience and human ingenuity. These experiments had been largely suppressed from historical accounts, erased through clandestine wars, purges, and the selective rewriting of history. Selene and Eve uncovered evidence of hybrid progenitors whose abilities far exceeded anything seen in contemporary times, suggesting that the ongoing war was merely one phase in a cycle that had repeated for centuries. This revelation underscored the narrative theme that the past, even when hidden, exerts an inevitable influence on the present and future. The hybrid antagonists were given distinct motivations, personalities, and moral frameworks. Reyes, the sociopathic hybrid, emerged as a recurring nemesis, orchestrating attacks with both intelligence and malice. He demonstrated the capacity to manipulate lesser hybrids, incite chaos among Lycan ranks, and challenge vampire strategic thinking. Virella, on the other hand, embodied precision and loyalty to Kale, creating confrontations that were as much mental duels as physical battles. These antagonists forced Selene and Eve to innovate, adapt, and confront ethical dilemmas in the heat of combat. Were they simply defending themselves, or were they responsible for the lives and autonomy of the creatures they fought against? These questions threaded through action sequences, adding depth and tension beyond mere spectacle. Action sequences became increasingly elaborate, spanning multiple environments and scales. Urban warfare featured high-speed chases across rooftops, subway tunnels, and industrial districts, blending gunfire, hand-to-hand combat, and supernatural abilities. Forest skirmishes emphasized agility, stealth, and tactical use of terrain, while confrontations in laboratories and castles highlighted the horror elements of hybrid creation and experimentation. Selene and Eve's coordinated combat showcased their growing synergy, with Eve taking on leadership roles and making decisions that reflected her hybrid instincts and moral judgment. The choreography emphasized fluidity, creativity, and consequence, ensuring that every engagement was narratively meaningful. In one pivotal battle, Selene and Eve faced an ambush orchestrated by Reyes and Kale's hybrid contingents in a partially collapsed Gothic cathedral. The architecture became both a hazard and a weapon, with flying debris, collapsing balconies, and stained glass shards contributing to the intensity. Selene moved with lethal precision, neutralizing threats with firearms and hand-to-hand techniques, while Eve utilized her hybrid abilities to anticipate attacks, redirect aggression, and protect allies. The battle's emotional weight was heightened by the presence of secondary characters like Leora and Darius, whose choices and fates influenced both the immediate tactical situation and long-term narrative consequences. The scene served as a microcosm of the broader themes: strategy, loyalty, identity, and the moral ambiguity inherent in a world where survival often necessitates ruthless decisions. The story also delved into the broader social and ethical implications of hybridization. Selene and Eve confronted the question of whether hybrids should be treated as weapons, tools, or sentient beings deserving of agency. These philosophical explorations were mirrored in dialogue-heavy sequences, internal monologues, and interactions between characters of different species. Eve, in particular, struggled with empathy toward hybrids who displayed intelligence, emotion, or loyalty, forcing her to balance personal morality with the demands of leadership and survival. These moments provided narrative depth, grounding high-stakes action in character-driven reflection. Global ramifications became apparent as intelligence gathered from antigen dynamics archives revealed similar experiments occurring in other regions. Vampire and Lycan forces realized that the war was no longer confined to a single city or faction, it was an international phenomenon with potential to destabilize supernatural and human societies alike. Strategic councils convened, involving negotiations, espionage, and preemptive strikes. The narrative explored how leadership, communication, and diplomacy could influence outcomes as much as raw strength, adding layers of political intrigue to the story. The climactic finale of this section saw a multi-pronged assault on a sprawling hybrid production facility deep in a remote mountain range. Vampire warriors, hybrid allies, and select human operatives coordinated synchronized attacks, each team tasked with neutralizing specific threats and securing critical objectives. Selene and Eve led from the front, their coordination emblematic of the mother-daughter synergy that had developed throughout the story. Hybrid adversaries, including Reyes and Virella, tested their limits, resulting in a series of duels, ambushes, and tactical maneuvers that combined spectacle with narrative significance. Explosions, collapsing structures, and the unpredictable actions of hybrids created chaos, yet strategy, foresight, and teamwork ultimately prevailed. The conclusion of this conflict was layered and intentionally open-ended. While immediate threats were neutralized, the narrative left several threads unresolved: the fate of Kale's surviving Lycan forces, the long-term implications of hybrid autonomy, and the potential resurgence of clandestine human factions with access to forbidden technology. Eve emerged as a capable leader, recognized by vampires, hybrids, and select humans alike, signaling a potential shift in the balance of power and foreshadowing future narratives. Selene's role evolved from solitary warrior to mentor, strategist, and guardian, reflecting her growth and the maturation of the next generation. The emotional resonance of the story was reinforced through intimate character moments. Selene and Eve's relationship deepened through shared trials, reflections on identity, and the mutual recognition of responsibility. Leora, Darius, and other secondary characters provided contrast, humor, tension, and moral perspective, enriching the tapestry of the narrative. Even antagonists were given moments of complexity, with Kale, Reyes, and Virella displaying motivations that challenged simple categorization of good and evil. The story emphasized that in the shadows of history, power, survival, and morality are constantly intertwined, and that the future depends on choices made under extreme pressure. The visual and auditory design supported the narrative's depth. Gothic architecture, ruined urban landscapes, subterranean catacombs, and remote laboratories provided a striking backdrop, while dynamic lighting emphasized mood, tension, and thematic resonance. Combat sequences were enhanced with a blend of practical stunts, wirework, and CGI, ensuring that transformations, superhuman abilities, and environmental interactions appeared both realistic and cinematic. Sound design reinforced the atmosphere, with layered effects capturing the supernatural roar of Lycans, the eerie hum of hybrid machinery, and the visceral impact of combat. Musical scoring balanced orchestral and electronic elements, accentuating emotional beats and the kinetic energy of action. One of the central elements that fan-imagined Underworld 6 narratives emphasize is the depth of Selene's character. From the very first film, Selene has been depicted as a formidable warrior whose abilities, intelligence, and strategic thinking set her apart in both vampire and Lycan society. Over the course of the franchise, her character evolves from a disciplined death dealer, following orders without question, into a complex figure grappling with loyalty, morality, and personal loss. In the speculative Underworld 6 storylines, Selene's evolution continues as she balances her role as a mother with her responsibilities as a warrior, strategist, and leader. Fans imagine her exhibiting a nuanced blend of vulnerability and strength. While she remains nearly unmatched in combat and tactical skill, her interactions with Eve reveal her capacity for empathy, nurturing, and emotional depth. These dualities make her a compelling anchor for the story, embodying the tension between duty and desire, survival and love. Eve, Selene's hybrid daughter, is envisioned as the emotional and thematic fulcrum of Underworld 6. As the first-generation hybrid with traits from both vampires and lycans, Eve's abilities are central to the narrative stakes. Fan speculation portrays her as not fully in control of her powers, which include heightened agility, superhuman strength, regenerative abilities, and the potential to manipulate mystical energies. This unpredictability makes her both a target and a wild card in the ongoing war, with factions vying for control, influence, or elimination. Eve's character allows for exploration of themes such as identity, inheritance, and the moral implications of power, providing narrative tension that complements the physical action. Her relationship with Selene is particularly significant, often portrayed as a source of motivation, conflict, and emotional resonance. The mother-daughter bond is envisioned as a grounding element in the story, balancing the epic scale of battles with personal stakes that drive character decisions. In addition to Selene and Eve, fan narratives often introduce new characters designed to enrich the story world and heighten dramatic tension. These characters may include vampire historians who preserve forbidden knowledge, rogue lycans seeking vengeance or redemption, and hybrid outcasts whose loyalties are uncertain. Each of these figures serves to complicate the narrative, introducing moral ambiguity, strategic dilemmas, and opportunities for plot twists. By creating a network of interconnected characters with diverse motivations, fan-imagined Underworld 6 storylines maintain engagement and suspense while expanding the thematic depth of the series. The lore surrounding vampires in Underworld 6 is frequently expanded in fan narratives to include detailed hierarchies, secret bloodlines, and ancient traditions. Vampires are depicted not merely as predatory beings but as a civilization with laws, rituals, and political dynamics. Pureblood or first-generation vampires are often imagined as possessing extraordinary abilities, longevity, and wisdom, along with a sense of superiority that drives conflict with modern vampire covens. Fan speculation frequently includes the discovery of lost vampire temples, hidden texts, or sacred artifacts that hold the key to ancient powers or knowledge, which become crucial plot devices within the story. These elements enhance world building and provide opportunities for exploration of themes such as heritage, loyalty, and the burden of immortality. Lycan society, similarly, is expanded in fan-created Underworld 6 concepts. Lycans, initially depicted in the original films as subservient or rebellious warriors, are imagined to have developed sophisticated political structures and codes of honor. Clan leaders are often portrayed as strategic thinkers capable of negotiating alliances, leveraging hybrid powers, and enforcing loyalty through both fear and respect. Fan narratives suggest that Lycan factions may play pivotal roles in uniting against common threats, engaging in diplomacy, and contributing to moral and philosophical discussions within the story. The inclusion of well-defined Lycan culture allows for a richer narrative landscape, where conflict is not only physical but also social, political, and ideological. Hybrids occupy a particularly interesting space in fan-imagined Underworld 6 lore. Unlike standard vampires or lycans, hybrids embody a convergence of abilities and instincts, making them unpredictable and potentially transformative figures within the supernatural hierarchy. Eve, as a first-generation hybrid, is often depicted as the prototype for future hybrids, with her existence challenging existing power structures and prompting ethical debates among vampires and lycans alike. Fan speculation imagines her grappling with control, morality, and identity, which not only shapes her personal arc but also influences the broader narrative stakes. Hybrids serve as symbols of potential reconciliation between species as well as the danger of unrestrained power, creating narrative tension and thematic richness. In terms of cinematic style, fan-conceived visions of Underworld 6 maintain the franchise's signature Gothic aesthetic while incorporating innovative visual techniques. Dimly lit cityscapes, misty forests, subterranean lairs, and ancient castles create an immersive atmosphere, emphasizing shadows, contrast, and the interplay of light and darkness. Combat sequences are imagined with dynamic camera angles, slow-motion effects, and choreography that highlights both physical skill and supernatural abilities. Visual effects are conceived as a fusion of practical stunts and CGI enhancements, ensuring fluidity and realism while amplifying the fantasy elements. The gothic, high-contrast aesthetic not only reinforces the franchise's identity but also enhances thematic undertones of secrecy, danger, and the supernatural. Music and sound design are imagined as critical to the emotional and atmospheric impact of Underworld 6. Fans speculate that the score would combine orchestral intensity with modern electronic elements, reflecting the fusion of tradition and contemporary conflict within the narrative. Sound design, particularly for combat sequences and supernatural abilities, is envisioned as intricate and immersive, providing cues for tension, power, and emotional resonance. The combination of visual and auditory storytelling is imagined to elevate both action sequences and dramatic moments, ensuring a cohesive and engaging cinematic experience. Themes of morality, choice, and the consequences of immortality remain central in fan-imagined narratives. Characters are portrayed as navigating complex ethical dilemmas, balancing personal desires, familial obligations, and the responsibilities imposed by their supernatural roles. Selene's decisions, in particular, often exemplify these themes, whether choosing alliances, confronting enemies, or guiding Eve. Her actions carry both immediate and long-term consequences for herself, her daughter, and the broader supernatural world. These narrative elements provide depth and gravitas, ensuring that Underworld 6 is not solely a spectacle of action but also a meditation on power, legacy, and the moral complexities of eternal life. Following the success of the original Underworld film in 2003, the second installment, Underworld, Evolution, was released in 2006 and significantly expanded both the narrative and the mythos of the series. Evolution explores the origins of the immortal conflict while deepening Selene's personal journey. In this film, Selene discovers that the war between vampires and lichens is far more complex than she initially believed, with hidden agendas, ancient rivalries, and the emergence of new, unprecedented threats. The movie introduces the concept of the first vampire, Marcus Corvinus, and the first lichen, William Corvinus, establishing a foundational backstory that explains centuries of conflict and sets the stage for future plot developments. These twin progenitors also introduce the theme of duality, the constant tension between order and chaos, loyalty and rebellion, light and darkness, that permeates the entire franchise. In Evolution, Selene's relationship with Michael Corvin becomes central to the narrative. Michael, who has been bitten by a lichen and is gradually becoming a hybrid, is revealed to possess abilities that could tip the balance of power between species. Selene's role evolves from a death dealer loyal to her coven to a protector and guide for Michael, reflecting her moral growth and personal evolution. Their alliance challenges her sense of duty and loyalty to the vampire hierarchy, illustrating the recurring theme of individual morality versus institutional obedience. The movie also explores internal vampire politics, exposing betrayal within the coven and showcasing the dangerous ambitions of elders like Victor and Amelia. Meanwhile, Lucian continues to fight for lichen independence, and his complex character embodies both noble leadership and the ruthlessness necessary to survive in a war-torn world. The third film, Underworld, Rise of the Lichens, released in 2009, functions as a prequel, providing an in-depth look at the early days of the vampire-lichen conflict. Unlike the first two films, which primarily focus on Selene's story, Rise of the Lichens centers on Lucian and the origins of the rebellion. This installment chronicles the oppression of the lichen slaves under vampire rule, depicting the systemic cruelty and exploitation that spurred Lucian to rise as a revolutionary leader. The film explores Lucian's personal motivations, his love for Sonia, Victor's daughter, and the moral dilemmas inherent in seeking justice through violent rebellion. The prequel not only enriches the franchise's backstory but also highlights the cyclical nature of violence and revenge, demonstrating how past injustices resonate through future generations. The fourth film, Underworld, Awakening, released in 2012, takes place years after Evolution and introduces a significant shift in the narrative. Humans have discovered the existence of vampires and lichens. This exposure forces Selene into hiding, as she navigates a world where the secrecy that once protected immortal factions has been compromised. Awakening introduces a new generation of hybrids and explores the consequences of Selene's earlier choices, particularly her relationship with Michael and the creation of hybrid offspring. The narrative structure also emphasizes themes of survival, motherhood, and adaptation to new environments, showing Selene's ability to evolve in response to changing threats. The film combines intense action sequences with horror and sci-fi elements, featuring elaborate set pieces and the introduction of new enemies, including genetically engineered hybrids, which reflect the series' ongoing fascination with the blending of species and the consequences of biological manipulation. The fifth installment, Underworld, Blood Wars, released in 2016, continues directly from Awakening and focuses on Selene's struggle to end the centuries-long conflict once and for all. In Blood Wars, both vampires and lichens view her as a significant threat, forcing her to navigate a landscape of betrayal, political intrigue, and relentless pursuit by powerful enemies. Selene must ally with former adversaries, confront treacherous coven members, and prevent the rise of even more dangerous hybrid entities. This film emphasizes themes of endurance, resilience, and the consequences of immortality, while maintaining the franchise's signature combination of gothic aesthetics, stylized combat, and dark romantic undertones. Blood Wars also serves as a potential conclusion to Selene's story, resolving her personal arc while leaving the universe open for future exploration, either through sequels, reboots, or expanded media adaptations. Throughout these sequels, the franchise consistently balances personal character development with epic-scale conflicts. Selene's growth, Michael's transformation, Lucian's rebellion, and the complex interplay between vampires and lichens form a continuous narrative thread that allows each film to build upon the previous installments. The series also deepens its mythos with each edition, exploring the origins of immortality, the creation of hybrids, and the consequences of ancient wars on modern generations. By blending horror, fantasy, and action, the franchise has maintained a unique identity, appealing to fans who appreciate both stylistic spectacle and layered storytelling. Each film contributes to a larger narrative tapestry, emphasizing themes of power, revenge, love, and moral complexity, which have become hallmarks of the Underworld universe.